Are there highlights in particular that stand out to you as the biggest achievements for SUZOHAPP this year?
22, it was really the first year that we've unveiled our entire sports betting hardware lineup and got real installs up and running and live, and we grew that part of our business by leaps and bounds in 22, and really have set the stage for 23 to even be much larger. So we were really happy with what has happened in 22 and the things that we've accomplished, and super excited about 23.
I would love to hear how the retail betting launch in Ontario has gone for you.
The go live was great. We're learning a lot, certainly, but putting the machines in, getting the machines up and running, and then so that was with our podium kiosks that have been installed elsewhere. But we also had the first installation and go lives of our tabletop device, which now is a full bar top. So we've evolved that product and now includes a bill acceptor. But up in Canada, it's really the first, I believe, the first bar tops in Canada. Because if you know, as you may know, Canada does not allow the drop-in poker machines that we see in a lot of other markets, particularly the U.S. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to put a bar top kiosk, sports betting kiosk, in Canada. So those machines have just gone live, and we'll be watching it very closely to see how performance is, and real interested to see how the market adapts to it.
Looking ahead to 2023, we've got new states coming on in the U.S. We've got other markets, in Central and North America that might be legalizing. Can you give us a little teaser of what's to come from SUZOHAPP next year?
We're going to see a big shift in 23. The word in 22 was the bloom is off the rose for sports betting. So I think we're all hearing that, and that is largely referring to how profitable is it, and what the U.S. market in particular, what that's delivering, and our expectations met, and acquisition costs for new players has been much higher than everybody expected, perhaps, and so now it's time to really dial it in and figure out how to make this profitable. And so I think we're going to see a big shift, and we would like to say we saw this coming, but a big shift from a push on the mobile and the online piece of sports betting over to retail. Most of the population are sports fans, but they're not yet sports bettors. And so how do we reach those folks? And I think that's a much bigger lift to capture those sports fans and turn them into a sports bettor by getting them to sign up for an account, put a deposit on an account, start betting on their phones or on their computers, because a lot of them don't know how to bet, and what do the lines mean, and what do the numbers mean, and it's all kind of confusing, and so it's a little tougher to do that. But in a retail setting, it's easy. We all go to sports bars, we get caught up in the emotion, we're watching the games, particularly right now with the World Cup. You've got a bunch of people getting excited about soccer who maybe are necessarily excited about soccer in the U.S., not as many anyway. But you get in there and you start watching the game in a bar, and it's fun, it's exciting, and so that's when it's easiest to get that sports fan and transition them into a bettor, because they can put a spontaneous and anonymous $20 bill into a kiosk and bet on the game. And so now we've just transitioned that fan into a bettor. And that's our golden opportunity, and that's our software partners. It's their golden opportunity to capture that fan, get them to sign up for an account, and get them transitioned over to the mobile side. Because I understand the value of that, but the retail side is the easiest place to capture those new players and those new accounts.
Ohio is a state that is putting sports betting kiosks in places that we traditionally haven't seen in other states. Do you think that's a trend that will continue as new states consider legislation, or is Ohio going to be like a one-off?
Ohio is, as everybody does, is super exciting to kind of see where they go with it. I think some of the rules and restrictions in Ohio are going to be so a good learning process to figure out how to manage, some of the things that they've asked for. But I also see it as there's some really exciting things. Like, for example, grocery stores putting sports betting terminals in front of the grocery store. It may be on the surface, it sounds a little bit surprising, but it makes perfect sense because it pulls people into the store, gives them another reason to go to the grocery store. There's so many other reasons, right? You've got the bank in there, you've got Western Union in there, and you have obviously all the food and drug stores and shoot, some of them even have prescriptions and everything else. So there's a lot of reasons to go to the drugstore. Having sports betting in the front of the store is just yet another reason to come into the store, or to a restaurant, or in the bars and the restaurants they're going to go in Ohio. But there's something very new and different than what the bars and the sport and the restaurants and the grocery stores have not done before, and that's the big payouts, right? So somebody gets a bet slip, they bet. Now, how are they going to cash that or turn that back into cash? And so that's a challenge. I mean, you really have to have a way to manage that. And there's money laundering rules that you have to be considerate of, and kind of figure out how that whole system works. And that's been our approach. So we deliver all aspects of that. So not just the kiosk, and not just the point of sale device in case there's an issue or a question or a large bet that needs to be taken. But also the cash redemption terminal that is paired with the whole system, so that large payouts, for example, there's call it a jackpot feature, so that a live person has to, a qualified person has to go over and allow for that payout to happen. But the smaller payouts can happen autonomously, and it makes it nice and easy, and the staff, the bartender or the server or the customer service rep in the grocery store doesn't need to do the payouts. They can continue just to do their normal job, and the machine can do the payouts. And this is already very common in all casinos, of course, but then also in other route markets, like take the Illinois VLT market, where it's in bars and restaurants, all the VLTs are, but the Illinois Gaming Board has mandated, not just suggested, but mandated that each one of those locations has a cash redemption terminal so that people can cash out, because they don't want that money being handled and that burden being handled by the servers and the bartenders.
Is there anything else you want to add just about SUZOHAPP in 2023, what you guys have on the horizon?
Well, we've got, we're constantly innovating. We're constantly looking through the lens of how do we benefit the entire market so that all the different players in this can be profitable. So, so far on the retail side, much of the market had just focused on those podium style kiosks, which are transactional in nature, meaning you walk up, place a bet, and then move along so that the next person can place their bet. But that's missing out in the retail world, and it's particularly in the route market. And you mentioned Ohio. Ohio is not going to allow in-play betting, but other markets, you asked like how other markets are going to look at Ohio and what they're going to do. I'm hoping, I think we all are, that other markets will realize that in-play betting is so important, because if you look at other markets that allow in-play betting is more than the transactional or who's going to win or lose bets. In-play betting is really important. But the other thing about a route market with in-play betting, not just the increased level of bets, but the increased spend on food and beverage. Because if you're able to bet during the event and you're in your chair and you're in the bar or the restaurant, it doesn't matter what the score of the game is. It doesn't matter if your team is getting crushed. You can still bet, do all the micro betting and betting during the event. That keeps you in your seat and keeps you spending more money on food and beverage. And that's really important for the small businesses, tax revenue. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? And so capturing that in-play betting, and that is what we're focused on. So all of the devices that we're coming out with now, and we have a long lineup of, in our development schedule of devices that cater to that in-play betting. How do we do more on that? And we've already got some really fun devices, and then in 23 we'll be unveiling some more. So 23 is a really exciting year for us, and we're taking a completely different approach than what we've seen the market do before. But we believe strongly that there is going to be a big shift over to retail, at least in the U.S. market in 23.